Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force, and in today's video, we're here to talk about Spider Society, and we're going to be playtesting their gameplay in Incursion 2.3. Now, one thing that I want to make note of before we get started here today is their power level, at least for the new characters. I have decided to do 4 yellow, 4 red, level 100, because I think that this simulates what a free-to-play player will be able to use. I realize that I'm actually about to time out down here. And the reason why we're doing that is because from what I understand and from what I've heard from the developers, that this is the expectation for the latest raids, is that basically you're going to be taking them to around level 95, gear tier 18. That's kind of the new bar that's been set, I think, since Extreme X-Men. You know, realistically, a lot of people have built their raid teams very big, and this is kind of the expectations for these guys as well. Now, I did level 100 because they're gear tier 17. So I just wanted to see whether or not those 5 levels made a big difference. And then what we're going to do is in the first half, I did some manual gameplay just to try out the skill levels, which I, don't have a lot of experience with. So, my alliance, we're not super hardcore. I did not build up my invaders to even do these levels, so I don't have a lot of experience with the nodes themselves. So we're going to be going through the manual footage of the Spider Society team, and in the second half of the video, I want to put them on auto, but at the recommended level of the developers of Gear Tier 18. I'm going to keep them at 4 yellow, 4 red, and see how they go. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. Okay, and so we're going to be starting off. This is some pre-recorded footage that I'd already done. So this is a bit of a pain in the ass to get to, right? It's the final lane of the raid, and I did not have sim available. Okay, so I had to manual through the entire raid just to get to the point to be able to share and test this footage with you guys. So it was a pain in the ass to get here. So hopefully some of you will appreciate that. But what I did was, again, I manualed this. I recorded my manual play of this. I don't have a lot of experience with, how to play the node. Who's the most important enemy to kill? Have no idea. I did not even bother leveling up my invaders to do this because it's such a crap fest for invaders. I'm not even getting my alliance to waste their resources doing this. So this is like, I wouldn't say my first time playing the node, but I haven't done this in a very long time, since like the early days of what's now First Strike, I guess, right, for this raid. So starting things off, I think I figured so you have Spider-Man Noir. So I want you guys to look at like basically what happens on spawn. Is that Spider-Man Noir goes first, right? Because he's got that passive where they get buffs and he gets speed bar, and they have a shit ton of spawn buffs. Like you can see all across the board: deflex, defense up, death proof, safeguard, speed up, regens, some evades. It's really crazy. Honestly, I think they all had evades, but I think Penny got hit. And so we start off with Spider-Man Noir there, and then we have Spider-Man Pavitra going in with the ultimate attack. I'm not going to go into great detail about his kits, right? Like he's a speed-based, essentially puts speed down on them, and then he gives speed up to the team. That's basically his shtick. And then third, we have Ghost Spider. So now if you were playing this on auto or on sim, right, you would all target the same character, and then Ghost Spider would then go ahead and spread all of the negative effects to everyone else, right? So you probably want to stick to the same target. In this case, I should have been on Bishop, who was the first target. That way I could have spread everything. And I don't know if that's exact. Maybe I do that. Oh, I did do it. Okay. So that was my manual decision, right? Because there was all the bleeds, and I want to spread as many debuffs as possible. So it actually does lend itself fairly well to the autoing or the simming, option there. What's really good is that they do. Peter B. Parker is an insane healer. Like his numbers for healing when it comes to the team in raids is absolute insanity. I'm pretty sure it's like 50% healing. It's huge. Penny Parker, this is really cool. So Penny Parker's ultimate, she's last in terms of the turn order here. But this ultimate attack, it's like an anime attack. It's really cool. The cutscene, I had to like go down to 1 times. I thought it was pretty cool. I like how they kind of added that sort of action anime sort of attack thing. That's also what puts trauma down on the enemies. So it's really important. What I might recommend, like for people who are free to play, who are like 3 yellow, 4 yellow, that kind of thing on Penny, she's probably going to be the most important character to build, honestly, because of all of her debuffs that she lands that are really important against the enemy. So having A skirmisher ISO, I think, in fact, would be really important to make sure those debuffs land. Because especially at the higher difficulties, from what I understand and from what I've heard from some of the other creators as well, is that sometimes there's an issue with regards to the focus resistance check. Some of you guys you're probably aware of this, right? Playing at like 2.2, 2.3, that kind of thing, where sometimes, the resistance on enemies scale a lot more than what your focus can kind of land. So that's why I think skirmisher on a lower penny, I think, would probably be necessary. That being said, I'm running Raider on Noir and Ghost Spider, and I think Striker on pretty much everyone else. So if I do run into, so you can see that, yeah, I did run into some, resist checks. You can see it like as the footage is going by. There are a fair bit of resist checks here and there, but I think it's to be expected. Like I said, I'm 4 yellow, 4 red on the new characters, but they're not Skirmisher ISO and they're not G18. So basically what the dev said was that, even for these new raids for Incursion 2.3, expect that you're going to need G18 95 plus. 7 yellow, 7 red is actually, I'm pretty sure, what they recommended. So I'm not even doing that, right? I'm technically below the recommendation for that, which I think is crazy. And what that tells us is that even these new raid teams need to be taken to the moon, right? I'm not having a lot of troubles actually on this first node. So that's good. Where there will be troubles later on, you'll see actually is the boss node. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here to node number 2 at the start. Again, I'm not super familiar with that section. I don't know, where is it? 6 minutes in, I think. Maybe over here. I think this is the start. Yeah, this is the start of node number 2, I think. And like I said, I'm not super familiar with how the nodes run down with invaders. I'm just kind of sharing how it runs down with Spider Society. I assume you want to target Kang. I mean, he seems like a pretty high target for me. I mean, I think he comes and kicks my ass actually. So I changed my targets. Now keep in mind that when you're playing this in auto, it showed, I think, Firestar as the primary target. So if you're doing a complete auto or Simfest, that's what's probably going to happen. But I think that Kang is probably pretty important to go after. I mean, that's just my opinions. Like if I'm manualing it, I think. I have no idea, right? Like I probably want an ability block on Rogue too as well, and you see that there's no slows on that side of the field. But that's where Ghost Spider comes in, right? If you're just focusing one target, all this stuff gets spread. Unfortunately, she does not spread ability block though. And that is something where you'll have to make a conscious decision, because you'll see Kang now comes in and like completely wrecks Penny. Now, she's almost dead. She does get stealth, though, and luckily she's not dead. Okay, and she heals really fast. Like, I want you to see this, right? Like, Peter B. Parker is an insane support character here. She got, like, about like 50, 60%. Like her health bar just went dramatically up, right? And so that's good. Like, Peter does his job. Peter B. does his job. And that's great. All the buffs are still there. Crap tons of buffs. So what's great about this team as well, which you probably would have known from the kit reading, or maybe not, that they cannot get defense down. They do actually have a good amount of immunity as well, which is really good, but they are immune to defense down. They cannot have defense down applied to them. So the only time that they're going to take a big bulk of damage is when a character has offense up. Now you can see Silver Surfer over there has offense up, and he's about to kick my ass actually. So it does do, if I don't have evades and things like that, it is going to do a lot of damage, even if I have things like defense up, because on the higher end raids, they hit really hard, right? Like there's, he's gonna do his attack right here, and you're gonna see it. I slowed it down for some reason. It hit those 3, but look at that. They're dead. It would have killed them if they did not have death proof. It would have killed them. So yes, these enemies still do a lot of damage when they have offense up. Again, those are the 3 newest characters as well. I don't know if that really means anything, but yeah, they should be, according to the devs, they should be higher power than this. They should be a gear tier 18, which is a sizable stat boost, as we all know, when it comes to gear tier 18. But other than that, not a crazy amount of difficulty on this node. What's really good about this team is that they do have on-spawn energy generation. So when it comes to simming or auto or anything like that, usually that's where there's a problem, right? That's where Bifrost has a bit of a problem. That's where Pegasus has a problem, because how they get their energy back is much different than teams like Extreme X-Men and Hivemind, and as well as this team here. So these teams are more friendly to the auto than teams like Pegasus or Bifrost are. And I hope, at least when we get to those teams and new teams, that they actually consider that going forward. So that's the pretty much the end of this node. Like it's pretty easy. Now, unfortunately, when we get to the boss node, things are not so smooth sailing here. I think I actually put on auto because things did not go over very well. Let's just say that. And the node is very tough. Now, again, I have no experience with this node really. In terms of the priority, probably it's like Spider-Man Big Time, but I'm not sure. You're stuck into the Absorbing Man, both of them, so it's really challenging here. And I think I was just honestly curious what would happen, right? Like in terms of an auto fast, what would happen? And let me tell you, I don't think it went very well. So I wanted to target the same Absorbing Man, so obviously the Ghost Spider would be able to spread all those buffs, right? This is the same kind of the startup there. And we did, but there's a lot of there's some resistances I think that are going on. It's not like a full spread. It did okay, but then the problem on this node is that if you cannot ability block or kill, I guess in this case, Psylocke, she's going to chuck all this stuff back, right? Or right there, Squirrel Girl just healed everything, so that was not good because part of what makes this team really good is all the debuffs that go out, and that's really important. And then like Penny's at death's door here again. Now, of course, Peter B. Parker is going to heal them all, but now we're stuck against the other Absorbing Man, right? So that's not helpful. And Penny goes in for the ult, which is supposed to help, but then you can see, look at that. Look, she did not land like anything. There's a couple traumas on Thor, Absorbing Man over here, and Black Bolt, and nobody else got the trauma. So there's a huge resistance uptick on this node, making it super challenging. I probably would have had to change Penny to a skirmisher and see if that made any difference. I might do that when we check for the auto on the second half of the video and probably bump them up to gear 18 and see whether or not that's enough to actually clear the boss node on auto. I know that most boss nodes are not meant to be autoed. Hell, I don't even auto on my main account for Extreme X-Men boss node. I think the only one that I have cleared on a sim is like Pegasus, because maybe that one's not that hard. But nonetheless, I'm just curious what kind of stuff we can do. And towards the end, we do end up wiping. I think we don't even get... No, shit hits the fan at some point here, and people end up dying. We're at 13 out of 14, 1.5 minutes in. Some of the complaints as well for this team is that their animations are very long in terms of Peter B. Parker with Mayday and the baby that comes in and out of the screen a lot. It's not quite reminiscent of Captain America World War II and how slow he was, but there are concerns about the how long some of these attacks do take. So yeah, as you can see, shit hits the fan. We lose. We barely killed anyone, and so resistance a huge problem in this node. But let's come back for round 2 and see if it's any better. All right, and we're back. Now, what has changed since the previous footage is that now these characters are G18 and they're 5 yellow, 5 red. I also upgraded their blue ISO to 5. They were blue ISO 4. Also, Penny Parker is a skirmisher. The reason for this is, well, like in the beginning, I want to see if whether or not that the skirmisher ISO helps her land her attack. Now, in this first bit, we are going to try to auto it again and see if anything has changed with the new upgrades, because this is more in line, a little bit more in line with what the devs recommend your power to be at. Now, again, the reason why I'm keeping to that 5 yellow, 5 red is because I feel like, after all the strike passes and the battle passes come out and after the events and all that, I feel like there's a better chance that you're getting closer to there, and so that's kind of within the realm of what free-to-play can get. And so really that's it. Like, I'm not here to show off this team for whales or things like that. For ardent, G8 for ardent, long-term veterans, I think G18 95 plus is reasonable. I think 4 yellow / 5 yellow is reasonable, but I'm not going to show you like 7 yellow, 7 red footage. That being said, apparently that's the recommendation for simming or autoing with this team by the devs. So part of this is, will this work, and is what they're saying actually the case? Now, what I want to show is I don't think Penny's actually got her ult yet. I think she's about to do it, but I want to see whether or not it lands I think it's coming up here. I want to see whether or not the skirmisher actually helps in landing that, because last time the trauma landed on like 2 or 3 characters, and I think it's coming up right here. Right? Yeah. So what happens? A lot better. It wasn't perfect, but there's a lot more debuffs on the field than there were last time, right? And so I think that might be the case. I think if you're running a lower star and definitely lower year tier Penny Parker, you're definitely going to need to have that skirmisher ISO. Keep in mind that this is Incursion 2.3, so their resistance and their stats in general are scaled pretty high. It's still looking a bit rough. I don't know if the team's well, we'll find out. It looks like it's doing a little bit better, right? Not having the trauma and certain ability blocks is a big issue, especially because Squirrel Girl. I don't know how she got the ability block actually, how Squirrel Girl got the ability block necessarily, but she does, and we're alive, and we're still alive. So maybe that G18 is helping. Now, obviously, I have their Phyla-Vell is cleansed, so I don't know, but at least having that trauma prevents characters like Phyla-Vell and Squirrel Girl from cleansing too many of the other characters. Also, Psylocke, right? So getting that trauma, landing that trauma with Penny is so important. Like I can't stress that. But it seems like Peter B. Parker is dead. So still a problem, right? He's dead, so we're probably not going to successfully sim this. Which means, right? What's the end all be all? That you need to manual this probably, and you need to land your shit, right? You need to land your skills. Penny needs to land trauma on like everybody, because if that's the case, then Psylocke, Phyla-Vell, Squirrel Girl, they can chuck it back and cleanse and try to do that, but it's not going to do anything, right? That's the whole point of trauma. Maybe this would have worked at 7 yellow, 7 red. You know, maybe I could upgrade them and try again. I'm not going to right now. But it seems that the boss at 2.3, keep in mind that's like the final, it is the hardest node in the raid, does still seem to be fairly challenging. There might be some adjustments needed. I don't know. You know, that's not for me to decide, mostly because I don't play at this level normally. But I think that people, especially whales who whale out, if they do 7 yellow, 7 red, and they still have problems, maybe check out one of the other creators. Maybe they've done it at that level. Maybe they can clear this on manual. Again, I don't entirely expect to sim this or auto it, but it does kind of give you an idea of what to expect. The regular nodes, fine, no problem. I did the civic. I did the autoing again actually with my upgrades, zero problem. Boss node on the other hand, bit of a problem. So let me know what you think about this team in the comments down below. It's definitely going to be interesting, and it's definitely going to be a lot better than Invaders. But do they need to go back to the drawing board a little bit on the stats? Is the focus resistance check a little bit too high? Could be. You know, would it be easier on an Incursion 3 raid that might come out in the near future? That's also possible. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see on a few things, and then we have about a month or so until the full team is out. So the jury's out, but obviously it's an improvement over the Invaders, and we're going to have this team for some time. So if it's not working as they would like it, then it's going to need to be improved. So that's going to be the end of this video, and until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.